Hello friends and welcome. I'm Sara Lihz from Sassy's LLC, and today I have this cute reusable gift tag, or you could turn it into an ornament, and you can replace the battery from year to year, or even put in a little piece of paper to make sure the battery doesn't run down while you have it in storage. So many tips to show you, and we're using a one light, so it doesn't get any easier than that. Let's go ahead and take a look at our supplies. For the base of our ornament, I am using Sweater Season from Elizabeth Craft Designs, but really you could use anything. We're working on a method here. The sweater is about 3.5 inches wide by 3 inches tall, so that size works well. For the to from, I'm using one of these handmade tag printable sentiments. It's a freebie that I put out last December, so I will link to the video that has that below. They're part of my emergency card kit series, and so I released some dies with Trinity stamps just recently that coordinate with those. We'll use those today. I thought I was going to use this press stamp and die bundle from Pear Blossom, but I didn't end up using it. There is a die that comes in here that will create a hatch for you if you were making a card and wanted to be able to replace the battery. Then we're also using the world's best foam tape. It is repositionable for 30 minutes. And finally, we'll use a one light. We're going to end up using the one that comes with the halo lights. It's a slightly different shape and it puts the button in a different place, but either one would work. This just fit well in this particular design. So there is a little debossed line on the sweater die, the base sweater die, and there's sort of a vest version that you can put over the top that would emphasize that line, but I'm not using that. I cut it out of some pattern paper, and I am taking my lightest gray alcohol marker, and I am just going right in that line with the bullet tip, and then I'm using my colorless blender just to sort of soften that as it moves outward. It looks awful when all the ink is wet, but as it dries, it really just puts a little bit of detail right in that crease to emphasize the sleeves and shape of the sweater. I'm going to go ahead and make 2 pieces. This particular sort of tag ornament technique works really well with a symmetrical die, and I guess I didn't check ahead of time, but these sweaters are not symmetrical. They're close. And we're putting thick enough foam tape in between the 2 layers that actually close is good enough. So I did 2 sweaters the same way, same pattern paper and all of that. And then on my tree, I'm using light pink. I'm loving this like pink for the holidays, all the holidays, and a little bit of glitter cardstock for each of the little snow bits on the tree. This tree or this die set doesn't have a star. So this is Emergency Card Essentials number 2. And it has a star in it. Any star would work, right? And most die sets that have a tree have a star. I was kind of surprised this one didn't. I want to make sure that my tag is nice and sturdy, so I have cut another one from white and I will glue that right behind it. I've marked where my tree is going to go, the bottom of the tree, and then the star at the top. I want the light right behind the star. So I'm going to use just a piercing mat behind it and use my pokey tool to get it started, but I want the light to be really bright. So I then took my tweezers and kind of opened that up a little bit. I tried to trim up the back. I don't know why. It's not necessary. Skip that step, friends. Save yourself some time. I'm going to lay this on top of another white sweater that is upside down just to mark where that light should go. And then I'm going to use some double-sided foam tape on the back of my one light. Again, this one comes in the halo light pack. The halo lights are a circle of lights that shine inward. This one is just a single light and a button, and all you do is stick the battery in there and push the button. That's it. It's super easy, and so I have taped that onto essentially the back of the tag. I have a 2-inch circle that I've die cut out using Emergency Card Essentials number 1. This coordinates with all of my printable kits that have all kinds of themes and sentiments. So I love interchangeable sentiments so I can change my mind later. When we go to add the sentiment on here, we'll use removable adhesive. So the next year, I just pull the one tag off and put a new one on. I love adding lights to Christmas projects, and I've actually made a handful of light up tags this year. Christmas trees obviously are great for this, but you can use all kinds of different things. You could use a circle for the base of the tag and then have Rudolph's nose or a light behind a nativity. I'm adding a step here that maybe isn't necessary. I wanted to pop up that star a little bit so you could see the light better. And this is like a clear mounting square. It's from Scotch, like 3M. And I had this holding something up on my wall and then it fell down. So it's not super sticky anymore. Normally they're removable. They don't damage the wall. They don't damage the paper. But I am going to repurpose it instead of throwing it away. I cut a little piece off of it and I'm just gluing it behind my star. And then I'll glue that over top of the hole. And that way I have just a little bit more light shining through. This is actually going to light up more than the star. The light is really bright in that one light. And so if that bothers you, if you just want it coming through one particular hole, you could cut a black sweater to put behind everything and then poke the hole through that. It blocks a little more of that light. But I love how light and bright this is, right? A little teal, little pink for Christmas, and I am here for it. I have another white Christmas sweater and I am just using a 2-inch hole punch. You could use a die. I want that hole to be big enough that I can get to the entire one light, but small enough that I am not compromising the integrity of that cardstock. We are going to put the tag itself together first with double-sided foam tape, but then 2 cardstock layers with the same removable adhesive that we'll use to add the tag so that we can get inside of it to replace the battery if we need to. This is Pear Blossom Press's World's Best Foam Tape. It is so good. I actually make a mistake here coming up as I'm putting everything together. And if I'd used any other foam tape, I'd have been starting over on some things. But I just love that like my stress level for a new interactive project is so much lower and I can focus on the construction instead because I know I have wiggle room. I used a light blue marker just on the edge of the foam tape. I always pick one that's a little darker than I think I need because it doesn't show up quite as dark on foam as it does on cardstock. And then I will trim around. So it's going to be on the piece of the sweater with the hole in it. And the hole is where my light mechanism will sit. I can just come in with my marker and get any pieces that I missed along the way. Again, it's really quick and easy. I think this whole process of adding the tape took maybe 5 minutes, probably less. So I'm going to go ahead and get excited and I'm going to put these 2 pieces together. And as soon as I squish them together, right, and I'm pressing, I'm like, all right, we're done. I'm like, oh man, I need something to hold my ornament up or hold my tag onto my gift. Like I'm gonna finish the whole thing and go, oops. At this point, I have 2 options of where to pull it apart and where to put my ribbon. So first, I'm going to try just removing that removable adhesive that's between the 2 cardstock layers. But I was worried the ribbon was going to end up overlapping the light, which is right on that layer. I have a little more control if I can put it on the layer where I have that hole. So here I am just peeling up that foam tape. Have you ever seen foam tape do this? It's so brilliant. Like, well done, Amanda. I love this stuff so much. So I am putting a little bit of glue on some thin ribbon. I'm going to hold that with my tweezers and then a little bit of double-sided adhesive tape. And this way I can add that ribbon at the top and I can very carefully pull it and make sure it's not going to block that hole. I also tested it and made sure you weren't going to see the shadow of that ribbon as the light was shining through, but it's a pretty thin ribbon and I feel like you can't tell it's there at all. Then I'll double check everything looks good and I can just put everything right back together. I am going to add a little glue behind the ribbon. I just don't want it going anywhere. There are lots of kids and small hands and excited people on Christmas. I don't want to lose the tag just to enthusiasm. And then when I go to put that top piece of foam back on, I handled it quite a lot. I cut some of it out, but one side is still quite sticky and the other side I'm going to add just a little bit of glue for safety. to make sure that it's going to hold down the way that I want it to. I may not even have needed to, but this felt safer. Then I'll add my sweater layer that has the hole in it. I'm going to line that up. It still has that double-sided adhesive on it, so I can add my other cardstock piece with the light right on top of that. If you're off a little bit, you can always just trim with your scissors. No one's going to notice on this. It's sort of a wonky sweater anyway. I love dies like this for an ugly Christmas sweater card. I did a whole series on that last year that was super fun. But here are my sentiments. There are some that just say to from, and then there are some that have these little circle sentiments going all the way around them. This one says, "You won't believe how much I spent on supplies for this handmade gift." I don't know about you, but I like to go all out in the holidays hand making gifts for everybody. So I'm going to add my removable adhesive on that and put that on my 2-inch circle. And then that finishes up our tag. You guys, this is perfect for a gift, as an ornament, and that adhesive comes right off, but it will hold up, right? I've had some that's been stuck together for a couple of years now. I can peel the whole thing apart. And then after everybody's done opening presents, I can stick just a little piece of printer paper in there between the battery and the mechanism on the back, and that will preserve my battery. So it's not just sitting in storage with the battery draining all year long, and then I can use the same battery again next year. Friends, I hope you'll give a light up ornament a try. I hope this inspires you. I appreciate you spending your time with me, and I will see you next time.